these movies are probably better if you're drunk or inebriated in some way. Like you really shouldn't watch these movies with a clear mind because you won't enjoy them as much.
Hello and welcome to another Dead Pixel. We're a podcast about anime, video games, life, a little bit of everything between. I'm your host as always, Joe, and with me, the gentleman who's still eating all the Cadbury eggs. Nick, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Yeah, allegedly eating all the Cadbury eggs. That's going to bear out in court whether or not that's true. But me and my legal team are going to vigorously defend the allegations that I hijacked a Easter candy cargo plane and absconded with said alleged candies. And we're going to fight that tooth and nail and keep you apprised of the situation as it develops on this podcast. How was your Easter, Joe?
All right. Just hoping that they don't catch you for that quote unquote powder sugar you seem to like to put in your eggs. But yes, no, I'm doing okay, man. Things are finally getting nice up here in the Chicagoland area. I had to mow my lawn for the first time, so in this season, I know you've been like, "Oh, dude, I've been sweating every night," but yeah, it's
I got
Texas is a
a I
little bit.
got I got I got a raise last year, so now I can keep it. I can keep the air conditioner on through most of the night. I have to leave it on a balmy 82, but that's fine.
All right. Well, anyways, yes, we have here a bit of news this time, so around. So let's quick go to what we've been playing, and then what we've been watching. We're going back to the original format that we did for a while,
The
and then we'll go
OG
to the.
format. I guess we can talk about why we abruptly switched back. In the early days when people were busy and didn't have enough time and all that stuff, we just couldn't make enough time to play or watch stuff. So we kind of had to front load the podcast with news. And now that we've matured and grown as video gamers and hedonists, we're better able to kind of play something and watch something and be able to talk about it. And so I like the news. I think it was good training wheels, and I like to talk about the news. But now we're grown tricyclists, so we can stand on our own 2 feet and talk about stuff, about things that we've done. So anyway, that's a little bit of why things are the way they are right now. So yeah, Joe, if you want to kick it off and talk about what you've been playing, that'd be cool.
Yeah. So was at the local library, and I discovered a game that's been on my radar for a really long time. So it's an older one now, uh, but I've never got a chance to play it. It's called The Messenger. I picked it up for the PlayStation, but it's pretty much on all platforms, and it's uh it's essentially a what looks to be a Ninja Gaiden clone. Is the simple way to put it. Uh, it's a old school pixel art 8-bit kind of game, and it has it's Devolver Digital at least produced. I'm pretty sure. So they're pretty funny. It has a good sense of humor, solid game mechanics, solid music, and what makes it unique is the game is surprisingly long. I guess for one of these, you'd expect it to be quite a bit shorter. It happens to have a twist that I'll just avoid to say, even though it's been out for a handful of years now, but it does have a unique mechanic in the game, which is it's a fun thing. The but one of the things it does do is it lets you switch between like kind of maps. A lot of games will do this in the like Metroidvania, like slash side scroller genre. It reminds me of Guacamelee,
Hmm.
where Guacamelee will let you go from the land of the living to the land of the dead, and so you'd still have the same, more or less the same level layout, but then maybe some paths would open up or some hidden blocks would be there, and that's kind of the crux of this is later on you end up you do have this kind of unique mechanic to explore. Uh, for someone like me who loves to like 100% these kind of games, whether it be Castlevania type game or Metroid, and I'd like to look at every nook and cranny or Guacamelee, just because I like by the time I get to the final end, I want to make sure, in case if there is a true end to these games, I'm a big fan of getting said true ending the first time around.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, you do tend like you do tend to go through and find like all the stuff, in the like more so than me. Um, but so it kind of surprises me that you're like, okay, I do want to go ahead and find the true ending to this because I don't. I guess you like to do you like to do as much as you can, but you don't want to feel like you have to in order to get the final thing.
Well, I mean, so the unique part of this game is so the real quick rundown of the basic story is uh, you're on an island or a continent, and humanity has been wiped out by demons, and your village is to the far west side of the map. And so then there's just on it's to the any further, it's just all water. There's an old legend that states that there is going to be a hero that comes from the west. Um, and to save the clan or whatever. And your group has just been training as ninjas to eventually to fight the demons when the time comes. And a lot of time has passed. I don't think they really state how much time. So your guy is just like, okay, living his normal, you know, adolescent shinobi life. When the demons do eventually attack, the hero comes into play and kind of pushes back the demon king and gives you a scroll and says, "Here, take it." Uh, he's like, I need you to take this to the top of the nearest mountain or whatever," and then disappears. And that's kind of hence the title, and your journey starts.
Mm,
The game has it's a really clever, really solid platformer in a lot of ways, and especially when you get to like some of the spots where as you're progressing, you meet a shopkeeper and they have a lot of unique slash stupid funny dialogue for you. They give you like the claws to climb up the side of side of walls. A basic staple for any type of wall climbing or jumping.
mm,
Later on, you'll get different tools from them, and you also then can upgrade certain parts because you'll be collecting currency in the game. I think this one is like time fragments or something like that. They're crystals essentially, and as so yeah, as you're platforming through, a lot of them are there are secrets abound if you know where to look for it. And it kind of reminds me of in this case, the combat's solid, and with the map switching I mentioned already mentioned, kind of like Guacamelee with that kind of level design. But it actually also reminds me of Celeste. Um,
right.
Celeste being the that really hard platformer, which actually, funny enough, they both came out in the same year. They both came out 2018.
Hmm.
So that I didn't really realize at the time. Yeah, because Celeste being noted for super hard um, platforming, where the whole concept is you summoning, going up to the summit of a mountain,
Right.
and there's more emotional stuff involved, which I don't wish to spoil any of that. So, but if you like a good hard platform, something like Super Meat Boy,
Mm,
then for sure Celeste is really really good. They actually have a on that one. Their kind of alternate worlds thing is called the B side, where you can challenge certain levels, certain areas on the A side, which is the normal gameplay. But then if you do the B side, they ramp up the difficulty with more spikes or harder jumps and stuff like that. So it provides an extra challenge. Really, it's one of those things that it's like a Souls game in that sense where it's difficult, but it is really rewarding when you pull it off. But also, depending on how quickly you get frustrated,
mm.
you might throw your controller before then. So,
Yeah.
uh, I didn't do too much with the B side in Celeste. I liked Celeste a lot, though. It was a solid game. Anyways, the Messenger has, I think, they do a really good job of balancing platforming and uh, boss difficulty. At least for my skill level, like I'm not the best, but at the same time, some of the bosses. Uh, when you die in this game, their big gimmick or mechanic is you get a little demon companion to come along with you,
Hmm.
and they're the ones you'll see if you ever look up the cover to this. You'll see this little winged demon like flying next to you. They stick with you for a little bit, and the concept is they'll go away in X amount of time. They don't really state how much time it'll stay with you, but it'll also consume any currency that you could get in the map. So you destroy a lantern or you kill an enemy, any of those currencies you would get for the shop, it just eats it until it's full, and then it goes away. What you could do, depending on how you die, or you can just go ahead, put down your controller, leave it idle for a second, walk away, go grab a drink, come back, and he might have disappeared by then. So then I'm like, okay, and then I can continue on with collecting all my stuff without any hindrance.
You
But
gotta
they do
cheat it
give you like
somehow.
a they give you a benefit later on if you want to upgrade. So he takes 50% less currency to disappear. But
Okay.
anyways, it lets you die a bunch, and then without any real penalty, and especially when it's during like a boss battle, he'll res you, and then immediately see the boss,
Hmm.
uh, and in a like Earthworm Jim style, like cartoon animation, jaw drops, eyes bulge. Oh, that's a big bad guy, and then disappear. So he reses you just to see the bad guy, and then just disappears instantly because he doesn't want to be around the boss fight.
Okay.
So there is no penalty when it comes to that, and the bosses are all about pattern recognition. I mean, certain bosses you'll probably be able to one shot first time through, but there's usually some sort of like for me on average it's like anywhere from like three tries early on to I think the one of the later ones was like five or something like that.
Right.
Um, I'm about halfway through the game now. I think I'm about 7 hours into a how long to beat says it's 12 hours for main story and about like 14 and a half average for that plus side missions.
So you're headed
uh
for, yeah, you're right.
so
You are probably right at halfway if you don't plan to just complete it all the way, because I know you're doing some extra stuff.
yeah, for sure. And one of the more recent boss battles I had, I kind of knew what you had to do. I kind of didn't think I could do it until I realized I wasn't using my full set of tools. I was
Right.
just relying on certain the certain go-to moves that I usually use. And then I'm like, oh, okay. Once I used the full range of equipment that I had, I'm like, I was able to beat it like within my fourth or fifth try. And I was like, all right, that's great. And it kind of had that sense of accomplishment where like, yeah, I did it. And I really was skeptical at first because I'm like, man, he just seemed really hard. Um, but I was just, I guess, putting in the towel a little too early in that. Once again, I it's an awesome game. Just it's that right level of difficulty meets um, the challenge and reward kind of feedback loop, and it had a fun story. It still has a fun story, I should say. Um, there was a couple twists, and so for a moment I thought this is how it was going to be. Like, okay, this is kind of going to be it, right? I've already, and then it wasn't until for this podcast I actually looked up how long to beat. And I was like, oh wait, okay, I still got a bit more of this because I came in completely blind, which was kind of funny because all I knew is pretty much what I said before was, hey, Ninja Gaiden, like there is a gimmick at one point, a thing, and uh, yeah, that's all I've since 2018. That's all I went along, and it was funny because at one point the gimmick or whatever your player character even makes comment to someone else about it. They're like, clearly you didn't watch the trailer,
Yeah.
uh, and I'm like, all right, which kind of makes sense to a little bit. But this is it was published by Devolver Digital, and it is by Sabotage Studios. Um,
Mm,
but if anyone likes any of these, like old school type of gameplay, I highly recommend it. It's simple, it's fun, it has that like a really good loop, and I don't want to go too much about it without because I would like to talk about it and completely have a full spoiler thing, but I think it does it a disservice.
mm-hmm.
I think you should be, anyone who's interested in it should find it out themselves. And I'm kind of, I'm still not done with it, so I kind of want to see how the end plays out because if it surprised me a couple times up until now, I am looking forward to the back half.
Right.
So
Yeah. I remember when it came out, seeing it and being like, okay, that actually is a pretty cool looking game. Simple on its face, but actually does quite a bit down the stretch that is very interesting. Yeah, I remember. I think Giant Bomb was talking about it back in the day whenever it came out, and I think they liked it quite a bit. I think Vinny played it, but yeah, that's cool, man. That's really good.
All right. Well, what have you been playing lately? Or should
Well,
say, what we've been playing.
what we have kind of been playing, and what you will probably continue playing on some of this stuff. Um, eh, so, a game that we've been playing, and that I will continue to play, though maybe not, but though not maybe as much as I thought that I would have, is Monster Hunter Wilds. So whenever this came out, I think we had talked a little bit about maybe right before it came out or whatever. And I have played, I don't know, 10 or 12 hours, something like that. It's been out for a while. I've had it for a while, and I haven't played it all that much. And that's sort of why I want to talk about it. Um, so, my perspective on this game is someone that has never really played a Monster Hunter game before. I jumped into, uh, or I dipped my toe, I would say, into Monster Hunter World way after it came out. Kind of too late to the party on that. And so I was like, I bounced very quickly, but I didn't. But I was like, well, this game seems really good. I just wish that I kind of had gotten in on the zeitgeist and stuff like that. So that's why I wanted to make a point of jumping in hardcore on Wilds, and I've played a bit. I've played with you. I've played alone. I played with a larger team, and it is not going to surprise anybody to say that this is a very good game in the gameplay, and like a lot of the intangibles and the tangibles. It's a good game. It's a very good game. Something about it though is not quite grabbing me, and I think that it has to do with the the multiplayer. Um, it really took a lot of the air out of my sails, out of my balloon, for to kind of realize how they are doing the multiplayer. And maybe I haven't played enough. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I missed something. I mean, I don't want anyone to bring up the whole dang it, a kid. I'm gonna ruin the joke. That the whole time there I forgot or I couldn't find the start button or the map that was very obviously in the game. Um, anyway, so with Monster Hunter Wilds, you can't like just be in a spot with your friends playing the game. You have to like be on a hunt, and when the hunt is over, everybody just goes back to their own corner of the game. Uh, right? Or has there been developments?
All right. So, uh, there's two ways to do it. There's one where we can sign up to do a nondescript hunt. So you're not doing a story mission, and then we can join up on the map together and kind of free roam, as it were, and then kill a big thing together. Um, that's so if you have something on your to-do list, we can kind of do that. And the moment it's done, I believe it kicks you out. At least the few times I did that. But if you wanted to hunt something for your story mission, you would then more or less, once you engaged in battle, I would then talk to my handler, and then it would more or less like map me to your instance and shortly around where your hunt is, and I'll just quickly rush there, help you beat up the current enemy, and bounce when we're done. So it's very kind of spotty. It's just like, it's a like an SOS flair they used to have, they still do. It's just like, hey, I need help with this, and that's it. And go away when we're done.
Yeah.
So it is a little lackluster in that. I agree. I think that's one of the problems I have because traditionally, not traditionally, I should say, Monster Hunter World, how they had it was on your in your hub. Uh, Now this is like you're set up with a bunch of, you can go to like a rando hub. But what they did is the original game was you're purely your own instance. If you wanted to meet up with party members, everyone would go to a certain area, which was this like high up ship area,
Hmm.
and then you would meet up on the ship where that you can actually have a meal there, and they actually had a special animation for like the meals. You can play a couple stupid games together, like arm wrestling, so you can button mash arm wrestling with your friends, or you can guys can pretend to drink together, or like do just silly stupid stuff. And that's while you were waiting, and when you're all ready because you all signed up, you're on the instance and you all sign up for the same mission to hunt whatever, and then you'd be mapped over to that instance of like, let me kill an Anjanath or whatever, big dragon or something, like, well, you'd be in the map, and then you'd have to run to that point, go all the way to where the monster was, hunt it, find the clues, hunt it down, and then fight it. Then as it runs away, half or like 40% of the battle is just chasing the darn thing when it goes from area to area as well. And that was a little bit of a slog sometimes. I think that was, but eventually you'd remember its key, like 4 or 5 locations that it might go to often, and then usually if you beat it down hard enough, it'll be like, oh, it's going back to its nest sometimes, or it'll go rest here, so you had that rhythm, but you were exploring that same. So if you kind of wanted to, be like, all right, well, I need to quick collect something, so I'm going to go off in my own corner of the map, the instance, but I'll make my way back to you or something like that. Or if I got knocked out, um, instead of going back to where you guys are, I'm going to go to the second location that's going to move because you guys have almost knocked it to the health point where it's going to move to the next location.
Yeah.
So you can kind of play it that way. It felt like more of a team outing, a proper team outing, opposed to oh shoot, I'm over my head. Quick, help me beat this thing up. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's
It's it,
I think they did it differently because this is technically just straight open world. Like you don't have a loading screen. You just go from your camp and you just roll straight out of your camp, no cutscenes to a new area for the most part.
yeah. And I mean, like just what we've played together and with other people, as far as I've been there, there's like the, the times in the game where we're fighting a monster are altogether are interesting, but I'm arriving late, you're arriving late, they're arriving late, and it's like, okay, so you're starting on a different page like half the time, and also like there's a lot of travel time where you're not seeing like I could still talk to you, but like we're not seeing the same thing, and I'm not, and you're like I just feel like half the time you guys were already in combat and I'd be heading that way, or I'd already be in combat and you'd be heading that way, and then it was over, and everybody's like going back to their own like kick back to their own spot, and then we're just kind of trying to wait to get up to the same point, and then there was also the issues of like, oh, I'm going to do this mission. Oh, it's a story mission. Oh, you can't do it because you're not this far in the story yet. So there's a lot of fun to be had in the liminal space where you're going from the base camp.
Monster Hunter's a liminal space game? What? Oh,
Yeah, for real. When you're going from the base camp to the objective, um, there's like, I will like, I was under the impression, so maybe I just didn't do enough research on the game, but like, I was under the impression that um, you would like everybody would be in the same camp essentially, um, and see each other. Oh, I see him over there buying that thing. Are you ready to go? I walk up to you, kind of like I don't know, real life in a weird way. Um, it's sort of like why party buses are a thing. It's like, oh well, because you can drink on the bus and someone's driving stuff like that. Yeah, but you know when you're like doing a pub crawl and you're going to a different bar and everybody goes and gets in different cars or different modes of transportation, and then like you have to split up, and then you arrive at the new location. You almost always lose somebody in the transition, and you have to like reestablish, the vibe whenever you have to do that. And I just feel like that is the constant thing in in this Monster Hunter game, and it just sort of takes me out of it. And I was like, okay. And honestly, I expected there to be a lot more teamwork. And it's not that like you guys are bad at doing teamwork. It's like you just don't need it. Like you don't it's like we're all beating up the same thing, and I'm sure it's gonna get harder, and there'll be points where it'll be like, oh, like I have to do my role and you have to do your role, and like teamwork makes the dream work, and we beat the thing. I just feel like there's a lot of stuff that this game um, maybe gets to, but out the gate, a game like Helldivers is way better about, because it sticks you in a mission and you're running around, and we're constantly communicating, like I'm going this way, I'm pinging this, oh, like I'm going to grab this, I'll bring down the supply thing, and you're constantly talking about what you're doing, and seeing you like shoot a spear at a thing. Oh, that was cool. Good shot. That sort of stuff is what I was expecting out of Monster Hunter Wilds, and maybe it's there. Maybe I should go watch a YouTube video of high level play, but I haven't experienced it as much, and it's been a bit of a letdown.
Okay. I think part of that is incorrect expectations. Um, so Monster Hunter, to for what it's worth, I've never felt like it was that much of a coordinated effort.
Mm-hmm.
You would sometimes do it if you're like, "Hey, I need to back off while I sharpen my hammer," because that's a thing you have to do, and or you might want to say, hey, like I'm going to heal, and sometimes if you stand next to a person while you heal, the off spray, like the splash zone of your healing bubble,
Mm-hmm.
the mist will heal other people, so you can, like, or if you have powder or something like that, you can like sprinkle dust, and if you're with next to an enemy, or next to an ally I should say, you can give them the same boons of higher defense or higher attack or something like that, which is nice. Or if like, hey, I've been poisoned, or I'm asleep, something like that, someone can help you out that way. So that's where some of that coordination comes in. But for the most part, it's we all have different um weapons, and so you kind of play to your weapon's strength.
Right.
If you're fighting so for the hammer, if it has horns, or if it has a head, which obviously it will, then that's where I aim for. I aim for horns and head because that's my hammer. I can more easily knock it to the ground, give it a slight dizziness, concussion. And if you have something like a sword, you go for the tail usually, or wings, and that's how you get better mats, drops that way.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the focus in that aspect.
Yeah, the coordination
Now,
stuff is not the big. It's that's not like the kind of the deal breaker. It would be nice, and that would be what would knock me off at the game. After dozens of hours, where it's like, well, we're just kind of that would kill that part for me. It's the other stuff that's more important. It's just sort
and
of,
I do
you're.
agree with you. The flow of it is not as good as, at least, unless if it's something that myself and the groups of friends I have that are playing the game uh that miss, because it seems like what would happen is at least what I remember with Worlds. It's been so long since I played Worlds, and I had played the story, but it was, hey, we're all on the same level. We're all so it was always blocked by hunter rank, so you couldn't necessarily have a newbie fight end level character, monster, because that just doesn't make sense. You're not leveled. You're not appropriately geared towards that creature.
Mhm.
It'll one shot you with a breath, literally, something. But uh we were able to, in the other games, like I said, if this feature was here, completely missed it. But it was, you and I are on the same mission. We can party up and then we would literally go into said mission because it was an instance, or like and then we would watch the same cutscene together. Uh, and for example, if I already, on the off chance that I had already done the cutscene, I would sit in the world while you like are AFK essentially, or like either you're
Yeah.
not there, or if you're just standing there
You're
idly in the
jacked
camp.
into
I
the
can't
matrix
remember,
and
but
yeah, you're yeah.
yeah, but you would be going through the cutscene, and then you would be there.
Mhm.
With small exceptions here and there, small things where like you guys are in a new location, or if it's like an event where like it knocks you into a certain spot or something like that. So, but for the most part, the average normal story mission, we can all go through this cutscene together, and now we roll together. So like
Mhm.
we're all doing the adventure simultaneously, which was fun, and that was a good way to experience it. I think by streamlining, I think that's the problem, is they streamlined this game too much.
Mhm.
They made it a little in the beginning of the game, they made it much they made it quite a bit easier, I feel. They made it easier, and they made it quicker to jump in, jump out. Uh, but by doing that, they kind of took away the whole adventure camaraderie together. Because yeah, in the game, you're always oh man, I'm getting my ass handed to me by whatever monster. Send a signal flare, then randos can jump in, or your friends can jump in, whatever. That was always there. I feel like that's the only way we can really play more efficiently now, and not being able to do the actual campaigns together, because we've tried to doing this a handful of times, and even with our friends and who had already completed the missions, like they were way ahead of us,
I think
and it was more
I
like
could be wrong, but I feel like we even tried where we were on the same mission. Like we were literally in this, I think you and me were in the same exact freaking story space. And one of us
"Mhm,
had waited. I think I had waited for you to catch up, and then we were like in my world or something like that. And I went to go do it, or maybe it was the other way. But I feel like one of us went to go do it, and then the other one was like, "Well, it won't let
it
me
says
do
you
it."
don't have access to it." Yeah,
And
it
that's
literally
like,
says you don't have access to it. We're on the same mission, but because you hadn't finished it, you don't have access to it, and that's
so yeah.
it's
I feel like
crummy.
they kind of they kind of sold. I don't want to be too histrionic about it, but they kind of sold the soul of Monster Hunter. From what I remember hearing about back in the day, is like, oh, it's super hard and super inscrutable and stuff like that. And that's always what made me kind of, scared to try it. But with the new one coming out, I was like, okay, I can jump in and I'll be relatively in the same boat as a lot of other people, and this is the time to get it, to get it figured out. And yeah, the expectations, a lot of that stuff, I really, if you told me ahead of time, I would have been like, okay, so it's easier, so it's not as much coordination, blah 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 blah. That I would have been like, I'll still buy it or whatever. It's, if I had known or had thought to ask about the fundamental way that the multiplayer works, um, that I would have been like, oh, I don't know. I probably still would have bought it. I still would have gone for it, but I would have just been like, I don't really know. That would have been the thing that would have bothered me the most, like it is now.
I never questioned the fact that they were going to change the formula from the previous one. So I just assumed it was just going to be the exact same as the previous, because that was
Yeah.
a system that worked. A little janky in the fact that it's like it feels like old school Japanese like layout.
Hmm.
Because other games have had similar where it's just like I don't know, playing Freedom Wars on the Vita. Like that was like Monster Hunter clone, but like it was
Hmm.
limited by the fact that, um, yeah, we all had to do the story campaign or go through the story cutscenes. There was cutscenes separate, and
Yeah.
then we'd like, okay, now it's time for the actual mission.
Yeah.
And so when then we could all team up for the actual mission outing together. But then on their own free time, we'd have to then or individually, while still talking to your friends on Discord or Skype or whatever, being like, back then it was probably Skype, and then being like, "Hey,
Yeah.
okay, just quiet up. I'm watching my cutscene. Okay, I'm done." And like, I'm
Sorry.
still going through mine, and then be like, "Okay, I'm done now. I'm done with my cutscene. All right, let's go into the mission." That was it was janky,
Yeah.
and so therefore, Monster Hunter World was similar to that, but a little bit better. And I'm like, okay, so it should be more or less the same. It's like it's not a perfect setup, but it gets the job done. And then this is like, it feels like it's because Monster Hunter World, the actual camp was its own isolated area. And in order to leave the camp, depending on which direction, you'd go to different maps, but you would literally have to go through a gate or a door or something that, and it would then load you into the next cutscene.
Yeah.
But because in this one, your camp is already loaded to the surroundings, so you just freely walk out. I think they
Is
kind
it,
of had to do things differently, and I don't like the way it is. Yeah,
it
once again, you lose a lot of momentum not being able to party with your friends the entire way or go through the cutscenes together.
yeah,
Like
there's
an
a lot
MMO
to that.
like
And
that.
I'm wondering if like at its heart, if Monster Hunter is a single player game, not just this Monster Hunter, but like all Monster Hunter from the beginning. I mean, it started as a single player game, right? So, and that's why it could kind of do all the stuff that it has done. And as it's gotten into multiplayer and stuff like that, you know, it's just the way that the development cycle goes. They're trying to expand and do all kinds of stuff. So they had to give things up, but at its core, it's still a single player game. So they maybe are just not as good at figuring out, like, hey, this is what it means to be a good multiplayer game. I don't know, but it's
I'm gonna say I think at its core it is actually a multiplayer game. It's always just been jank. Because when
okay.
I think the monster like I think the biggest um peak like early peak of this fandom when it went to mobile, like it went to the Nintendo DS or the PSP or
Hmm.
whatever. Like I think it was when it was like that because it'd be the Japanese, school group of school friends all sitting together, like local,
Mm.
and kind of like connected Wi-Fi or whatever, trying to play their game, partying together. I think
But
that's
like
where
on
it
those
found its
systems,
core.
those like you in the same instance of a game, or were you? It was like just
You guys would be fighting. You guys could team up and fight the same monster together. And that was the thing
okay.
is, it's it's the idea of it's like a raid. It's essentially it's a small scale raid.
MMO
That's kind of what
kind of,
makes
yeah.
like yeah. And to use MMO terms, it's like yeah, we're fighting a big something that's way bigger than any one person should be able to handle,
Right.
and it's more fun to be able to take out a big thing as a team.
Hmm.
I mean, there is fun to do that solo, but at the same time, it's like it's that team effort, camaraderie, and so I think that's the takeaway. Is
It's
I
kind
just
of
feel like the tweaks that they made to try to make it more streamlined hurt it in the end. In this instance, like unless listen, there might be a key pivotal thing, but like when we came into the game a little late, like a couple weeks late, um, and within like a week and a half, I had a couple friends who were way ahead, like they were
dude.
dedicating hours a day, you
Yeah,
know,
and
for like
they I like when they told me what level they were on. I was like, how are you guys this high level? And it'd been several weeks, but I was still just like,
it was like 2 weeks in, and one person's like 100 rank 45, the other one's like 56, and you're like, I'm two.
yeah, like I'm
It's
like
just like,
2, 4, 5 somewhere in there, and I was just like, I mean, I knew I hadn't been playing it very much, but I was just like, there's no way in the world that I was gonna get to level fucking 30, 40, whatever they were at. And I was like, you guys, I don't know. I guess I don't know. That's just some people are just able to. Some people just don't need to sleep. They can just play games, or maybe it's easier to. I mean, you kind of do level sort of fast in that game, so maybe it
yeah,
wouldn't have been as long as I thought, but it just seemed crazy.
I they do more cutscenes in this one than I feel the last one, and I think this one is like I don't care about the story at all compared
I
to the
was about to
previous
say
one either.
I don't hate the story. I don't love the story. I don't really think anything about the story at all. I'm just like, okay, it's a story bit. I'm gonna like pick my nose and like go to the bathroom or something, uh, and then I'm just like, okay, are you done talking? Let me go kill this thing now. And I don't usually feel like that about games. I'm kind of a story guy. But this game, I'm just like, whatever. You guys are just saying dumb
It
stuff.
also I'm not getting a nice prepared meal animation for myself. I'm getting like rations, and I'm like, what is this garbage? So I was
Yeah,
like,
I mean, there's some bullshit in this game that it's like, hey, we didn't, we bought this game not for less. We bought this game for more. And you had Monster Hunter Rise where you dicked around with lower level, crappier, whatever gameplay. so it could fit on the Switch or whatever. But this should be like proper like Monster Hunter. So all of that stuff that people loved so much, I don't know. I just feel like the devs that they made a good game as they saw it, and they you can definitely tell where they put their efforts and stuff like that. But there's a lot of the intangibles, a lot of the yeah, but this was so good about that other game that they were just like, well, it's not part of the gameplay, so we're not going to really worry about it. It's like, why not? Just freaking do it, dude. Just make a couple new cat person animations, Neko-chan making me some udon. I mean, that's where most of the budget should have gone. Is in freaking 3D modeling the okonomiyaki and big oversized meat on a stick things with cats with chef hats. That's what I wanted. But
So I feel like they kind of they did the EA thing from like when EA went from, or I should say BioWare, more specific. When BioWare was acquired by EA, they went from like Dragon Age 2 to Dragon Age Inquisition, or like
oh yeah,
Mass Effect 1 to Mass Effect 2, by making it more streamlined and more fast paced. You kind of lose something in the translation, and it's just, yeah, I mean, the game is not bad, but it's just not what we expected. The actual combat is fun when we get there, and it does ramp up. You do get the higher difficulty enemies. They've added more. They've added more extra enemies since then, even to like after. Like my buddies already dropped off the game because they at the time they had beaten everything. They killed everything that there was to kill, and then they're like,
yeah.
okay, now we're kind of done. like
Well,
like we'll come back in later when they start adding more things, but like
and
we've
now
killed the things that need to be killed.
we're all just waiting for the next season of Netflix show to drop. Netflix, and just and I don't. That's what I've never been able to get into that. It's like, oh, come back, for this. I mean, not really. Like with Stellar Blade, I was able to jump back in a little bit because of the DLC, but I've never really appreciated that aspect. Some people do. That's cool, but yeah, I feel like they just yeah they had an idea. So in everything whether it's music or art or whatever, it's you have a certain amount of repetition, and that is what is fun. But if you have too much repetition, then it gets boring. So you have to have variation, and the same is true with variation. If you have too much variation, then it gets boring, or you break what is fun about it. And I think that they just zigged where I zagged in terms of expectations on what I wanted that, repetition variation sort of aspect to be. But yeah. Anyway, so
So for what we've been watching, all right, I have a bunch of anime and one other thing to talk about, but I'll let you go first because I have a little bit more to say. So
yeah, so you'll be able to run through this stuff. So uh I can't remember how much I talked about this show before. I know it was before I finished it, but um, been watching a little show. I watched a little show called Common Side Effects, season one. So I had seen like a little preview of this, and I was like, "That looks dumb. I'm not gonna watch it." And then there was a dude at work that was like, "I've been watching this show, and it's like really good, man. It's so cool and so funny." And I was like, "Really? What is it called?" He's like, "Common Side Effects," and he kind of tells me a little bit about it. And then I went and looked it up, and I was like, "Oh, okay, okay." So this is a show that has been produced by Adult Swim, airing on Adult Swim, and I watched it on HBO Max, or Max as it's called now. And this show is it's an American Western animation um, that is about I will say it is a it's a mushroom. This is all in the first literally probably 10 minutes of the first episode. So spoilies for that. So it's about a mushroom that is specially growing that a guy finds, and this mushroom can cure any ailment or disease or problem. So like you get a gunshot wound, it can literally like eject the bullet and close the wound or whatever. Like you break your leg, you have cancer, you have anything, basically anything wrong with you. It can fix it. And so like in the first episode, he like the guy that has it, like you don't know that's what it is. He's meeting with a friend and he's like, I got this thing that I need to show you. And she's like, okay. And he's like, hang on a second. He picks up this pigeon off the ground and he breaks its neck. And you're like, what in the world? And then uh, he like feeds it some of this or like jams some of this, like this, this, mushroom dust in its nostrils, and the bird like fixes and like flies off. Um, and so that's where like it really hooked me. I was like, I was giving it a chance, and then that point it like really hooked me, and I was like, holy crap, this is actually pretty good. Um, and it extrapolates from there. It gets more complicated. It is really funny when it wants to be, but it's mostly pretty like I guess serious. I guess um, executive producer is Mike Judge, who you might know from King of the Hill or Office Space, and a bunch of other stuff. A bunch of other stuff. Silicon Valley, most recently. Um, and it is he's like a producer on it, so I don't really know how much credit to give him, but it is very much in his vein of like comedy and the way that he thinks about things in certain ways. He also does at least two of the voices, which is funny because they are kind of variations on Hank Hill. So I like that a lot. But yeah, only 10 episodes. Each of them are about 25 minutes, 24 minutes, or whatever long. Doesn't waste your time. It puts I'll call it a loose bow on it. Definitely leaves room for a second season, but it wouldn't have to have it if for some reason it doesn't get renewed. But definitely has room to do more stuff. Um, and yeah, man, it was really good. I highly recommend anybody that likes animation and or any of the other stuff that I talked about to watch it, because it was pretty good. It was pretty good.
All right. Well, that's cool. Yeah, it's. I was looking and it's like the internet quick told me it's like available free on Sling, and I'm like, I don't really know that uh,
Okay.
platform. But
Weird.
yeah. Anyways, what I've been watching. So Netflix dropped the Devil May Cry anime a few weeks back, and I kind of was him and Han getting around to it because I wasn't really that impressed with the Tomb Raider, and I never finished Tomb Raider
Mm,
animation. So Devil May Cry, I'm kind of feel like I'm in the same boat. I just feel like they've already gotten renewed for season two. Like they did that right away, and they dropped all 8 episodes at once. Uh, I feel like there's just something lacking in this for me personally. I think for most people, it's like an average okay popcorn film. Like kind of series. It's like, yeah, you just simple entertainment for simple minds. And like if you don't it's not meant to be high art. It's not meant to be thought about really. And so it's me probably just nitpicking or just finding it weirdly inconsistent in my brain, and therefore I just can't quite enjoy it. I'll just uh right away I feel like the uh Dante's attitude is kind of I'm not really sure where this is supposed to take place in the game series, if at all. But if he feels like it feels like it's supposed to be super early in his career, as it were, like a prequel almost. At least as far as his attitude goes, um, and it tries really hard to be funny, and it just doesn't hit for me.
mm,
The sound design is really lacking in a lot of ways. His pistol fire shots are like kind of flat monotone. There's no real oomph or pack to it, and there's no real finesse to the combat as you would expect from like even video game number 1, it's like the whole thing is the franchise was always, like, super cheesy in the original, like, couple games. It was meant to be that way, slow motion, over the top. Like, I think the very beginning of the first game is, like, motorcycle flying through his office, detective office, and breaking stuff up and jumping in the air, slow motion,
Kind of
like, all
style
over the
over
spot.
substance. Like, this is so
Oh, yeah,
cool.
it was very much almost a spoof, but it's kinda meant to be that kinda cheesiness, like, for something along the lines of, like, Metal Gear Solid, Hideo Kojima, like, over the top cutscene slash, like, The Matrix or something like that. It was just
Mm.
very much that era, which I don't feel like they quite hit the mark on this. Uh, I don't know, it's just all in all, I haven't really found my liking to it. I know a couple people who really like it, and they're really stoked about the 2nd season. That's kinda why I gave it a shot, and
Mhm.
I'm like, I just, haven't really made up my mind, but I just don't really feel like I'm gonna finish it, and
Is
I'm a
this
kind of
a
person who hate watches stuff.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, is this the same studio that, does the Castlevania stuff, or is it a different studio?
yeah, it was supposed to be the same team who did Castlevania, and I didn't realize that at the time, and that was one of the reasons because, like I said, some people I knew happened to really like, the Devil May Cry animation, and they're like, "Yeah, it's the same Castlevania team." I'm like, "Okay, cool." And Castlevania seemed like I don't know if they had more budget, but once again, I think I found you had better sound design. The humor landed better for me. It wasn't always great, but it landed. It was just more fitting. And I
Right.
think maybe just the people who made that. I think Castlevania might have had more passion behind it. Is the best way to put it. Like,
Well, I
um,
mean, I don't know the whole history of this, but what I imagine is like they were probably it was their only thing that they were working on at the time, because there wasn't a lot of that going on. So they probably put all their effort, all their eggs into that basket, put it out. It was a big success on Netflix, and now we're seeing other projects that you're not that you're not that aren't sparking your interest, and it's probably because it's not really as interesting to them.
yeah. You know what? Now that I mentioned it, I think I'm gonna take back what I said about the sound design for the guns. I think they sound appropriate for what I remember what it sounded like when you're rapidly firing, juggling an enemy
Mm,
in the video game. It's just a flat tone, like da 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 da, kind of like generic gun noise. But when you're doing slow motion scenes or you're trying to make more of an emphasis, and you have that kind of sound coming from your gun, you could have bumped up the bass a little. It's like a little bit and gave it more of an impact or oomph, but
yeah.
instead you have that same generic, like, just rapid fire noise, like, just like a flat gunshot, and I think that's what took me by surprise. I'm like, but in theory, it might be more appropriate. Like, yeah, that sound effect does kinda add up to the original game. It just didn't translate well to the way they cinematically shown it, and the combat wasn't as smooth. Like I said, it just there's a lot of parts that just I'm like, it just didn't feel right to me. And I'm probably going to be an outlier in this one. Give it a shot, Nick. Come back and tell me how you feel about it. Uh, I mean, I haven't really played any Devil May Cry since the third one.
Hmm.
So I've kind of been stepped away from the series. It was one of those games that I enjoyed playing, but I was very bad at getting the proper high combos. So when you finished an area and they gave you your ranking, my ranking was never stellar.
Yeah.
Um, but I did enjoy like the cheesiness of the whole like gods and over the top action. So, but all right, that's it for that animation. It's on Netflix. It warrants at least it may be a shot because they are making a season 2. If you're curious, I'll let you know if I ever finish it. But I'm just kind of on the fence on that. Um, but speaking of things, I had hate watched. Uh, I had finished season 1 a long time ago of Windbreakers, and season 2 is out now. Um, so
Someone needs
this
to tell Japan what
animation,
that means. I'm sorry. I know it's gonna. I know it would like just destroy that studio and then put all those people out of work. But like, I just can't. I can't, it looks cool on its face. All right, how's Windbreaker season 2?
well, I mean, it's a stupid name without a doubt. It's very generic. Um, the last, so I'm trying to remember when it came out originally. This it came out last year, I think. Um,
Something like that. Yeah.
so like April of 2024. So uh, season 2 picks up immediately after season 1 ends. So you're a year apart roughly, and then you're just gonna pick up just literally they went through like, "We're gonna help a buddy," and then, like, they start out with, like, "We're gonna help our buddy," and I'm like, I have to
What does
remember.
that
I'm like, my
mean?
brain is rapidly trying to be like, "Oh, that's right. Someone was helping a friend because they got whatever," but this whole series
My dad went out for milk
is
a year ago. He's
yeah,
back.
this
I
whole
got
series
the
is
milk.
you know what? This explains a lot. It's actually it's actually it's not it's so it's actually based off of a Korean manhwa. That explains why I don't like it so much. I'm actually
Uh,
really hard on manhwas. I really don't like a lot of them. I'm also really hard on K dramas too. I'm a self-hating Korean person. What can I say? No, it's you can do better. That's all I can say is you can do better. It's the kind of concept is there is it's a world where like schools just have like big brawls, like if there's like what take West Side Stories, but without the singing and dancing. Um, it's just like all the time brawls and like no big deal. Uh, it's like trying to glorify or like reminisce of the days of like the 70s and 80s or what people think that kind of like punk
mm,
life was, I guess.
kids these
Especially
days.
like
Yeah.
I don't know. Uh, it's not worth watching. I personally don't think so. I mean, so the thing is, a lot of people complain about the one thing I'll give it positive is a lot of people complain about how fight scenes are done in a lot of animes. In fact, one of them I'm going to mention later. Um, it's like they do a lot of. I think it's a matter. I guess it's a question of is it laziness for studios or is it a they don't have enough they're having to do too much in too little time. Their crunch time is way too high because a lot of animation including like Blue Lock is noted for this season 2 at least where they'll take a still image and then take that character and then slide it across the screen as if it was like moving but it's just that single like the joke of PowerPoint presentation or you'll take a kick scene like an action scene and then just do like side flare like it was a manga or like pulse it a little bit and be like yeah this is intense but there's not actually any movement going on in the screen so they do that they actually animate the fight scenes for the most part but then every now and then they'll for the bigger brawls they'll cut back in windbreakers here to or the season 2 to show like CG modeling and it is some of the most lazy, like the most tired looking people fighting. It's just like we're gonna stand here, and you see, I was watching some of the people in the background, slow punch, like I'm like that is ridiculously like slow. I don't understand. Like you need to speed that up, but it was really just jarring. Um, and but they do animate a lot of the other fight scenes a little bit better. It's not good. It's not like someone joked about they were showing like Toradora on Reddit and be like, it's like this romance anime has better fight scenes than the current anime, and it's just like, yeah, it really does. But also that was a different era. But that's the thing
It
is
was a
just like
simpler time.
I
There were fewer
I
anime
don't look at
out,
this.
and the talent was pooled in smaller areas.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing is there's too much. There's so much anime out there now, but also crunch is so bad that they have to meet such strict um deadlines to release their stuff, so they're cutting corners as much as they can. And I think that's actually the trend that's happening, which is a terrible thing for the overall quality of anime. Um, so this one does do it better than that, but as a overall, like the story is just dumb and the characters are forgettable. I mean, but if you wanted to watch a bunch of people get into a brawl, I guess there's that. Just rewatch season 2 of Solo Leveling. That's it's far better, action.
Don't watch season 2 of Windbreaker. Just rewatch season 2 of Solo Leveling, and you will come out ahead. Okay.
All right, that's it for that one. Um, the other, so the one I was alluding to about having PowerPoint fight scenes is the beginning after the end. So they started. Oh, sorry, Windbreaker two episodes out now in English, so you can actually have it in English, and you can just have it in the background if you want. So yeah, but also speaking about the background, the beginning after the end. This one now I talked about it before. It's interesting enough. Um, but the fight scenes are very jarring like that. There was a fight scene where they're getting ambushed and they someone shoots an arrow, and so it's the shot of the arrow already released, and then just they just kind of pan from the person to the target, like no actual animation. Or the next thing you know, one of the characters just hard cut to them into like a wagon, like smashed they got knocked back, breaking the wagon. Like they there was no impact. You didn't get to see you didn't even get to see him facing off, scoring off someone. It's just like you're cutting flash cutting to a bunch of people. It's like Marvel Avengers where it just jump cuts to every person's face. It's kind of like that. I was just like, wow. it's it makes sense in a manga world where you're looking at each panel
Oh
and
yeah.
that you're not seeing, but it's not. At that point, you might as well be reading the manga. You might this is you know, it's manga with voiceover is what it is.
I mean, yeah,
For the
that's
fight scenes. For the rest of it, it's okay, but yeah, the fight scenes are very lacking.
it's like the storyboarding's already
So
done for you guys. Like, what do you guys? You're just putting. You're not even doing keyframes. You're doing the in betweens. That's all the anime people are, right? I'm just messing around. Of course, they're doing
just
hard
just
stuff, but
scan the manga, color it in, color it in like a coloring book. There you go. Um, all right. So, anyways, as far as the beginning after the end, it's an interesting take. I'm watching it in Japanese, and it's interesting enough. But now there's 2 episodes in English, so I got to rewatch them just because we were like, I was just curious to see what the quality of it was, and it's not terrible. It's just adequate. Um, the next one, episode 1 in English now. I think there's 3 episodes out, but it's Once Upon a Witch's Death. This is like one of 3 witch animes this season, um,
it's witch season.
and so this one is kind of a light. It's based with a lighthearted character. She's a witch apprentice. She's currently an apprentice to an older lady who's like one of the 7 great witches or something like that.
Mhm.
But on her 17th birthday, she she is told that her master tells her you have 1 year left to live, and she's like, yeah, and in order to break set, you have a curse put on you that's been inherited essentially, or it's like, it's like there's nothing you can do about it, but if you collect like 1,000 tears of happiness within the next year, you can, yeah.
Thousand
So
paper
you have to do
cranes.
good deeds. It's essentially you have to do good deeds to make people, weep, and then you will be able to break the curse or use that to grow the seeds to break the whatever,
It's like two
some
and a half a
MacGuffin.
day. I mean,
Uh,
that's a lot.
it
That's
really is. But she right out the gate she gets 2 of them. But it was just funny because as the end of that of episode 1, as people are crying, I'm like, so is she going to be like, excuse me, can you just come here and like just let me get a little bit of that? What they do is I just by magic teleports into like beads into her little jar. There's no way that little vial that attached to her hip will hold 1,000, but it'll hold like 200 at most. Anyways, it makes no sense. But the actual animation quality is good. It seems like it might be a lighthearted, fun anime.
it looks like a sweet
One of the
anime. It looks well
one of the
drawn and
questions
well considered.
Yeah. One of the questions she brought up is like, "Why didn't you tell me this sooner?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's a great point." Like that her mentor like had this prophecy for a while. She's like, "What's the point? You wouldn't have done anything anyways." And she's like, "Yeah, that's right. I would have lazed her out until the end of my days."
To the last minute.
I found that to be funny, but at the same time, doesn't matter. You still let them know. It's like it's my Harry Potter argument all over again. I was like it's like Dumbledore not telling Harry any of this big family secrets, and then posthumously like having notes for him. I'm like, no, that's the wrong way to do it. You go there's like, no, here's the deal. I'm gonna let you know all this stuff now, lore dump on you, because you need to know this and be prepared. Yes, you're a little young to process this, but doesn't matter. You still need to know this crap.
Yeah, yeah. You've got to give a good reason why you wouldn't tell somebody, and there just isn't one in that situation.
Yeah. So it's not like an Armageddon situation where like it snuck up on you like the asteroid the size of Texas appeared out of nowhere. It's just like, um, but at the same time, it's just like like you got to let the people know. But like do you how long do you wait? Because do you suspect mass rioting? Well, in this case, it's like, dude, she could have at least worked on like depending on how many years she knew about it ahead of time, like just get a couple tiers here, get a couple tiers of good there, not have to work on that many. I'm like, you essentially got to make a whole town like bow to your whim. Like,
Yeah.
I am your savior, I am the new like Joan Arc, like now all cry for me. Yeah, it's a stupid concept, but the animation's quality is decent and I found it to be entertaining. So it's going to be like a nice little slice of life thing, I think.
It looks like a
uh
sweet enough show.
all right, last bit. uh I'll try not to rant about this too much because we got to get going soon. But I watched one of the Godzilla movies that you had watched a while ago that you said you liked, and I hate you for it. So Godzilla 2021, Godzilla versus King Kong. Uh, this is a hot garbage. This is like, especially coming from the Godzilla one before it. Um, it's it. I didn't like the Godzilla of King of All Monsters, which is where it introduces uh was it Millie Bobby Brown or whatever, like 11. um
Yes.
like her stupid story arc and like the eco terrorist monarch and everything. It does this whole like they go from that to taking her character as being like this, the little girl character who just happens to know, can do the things that you need for story exposition.
Hmm.
um and then it makes her into the rebellious teen who now is all about the like conspiracy theory industry, and she just goes hard emo edge teenager.
Hmm.
um this movie is just so bad in so many different ways. I mean, your lead, the heroes behind the scenes are essentially, yeah, Millie Bobby Brown and like her the person she listens to as a podcast talking about like all the all the monsters and stuff like that, who the story is just nonsensical. I mean, yes, if you could shut off your brain and like, but that you have so much stuff that you have to sit through between the big fight scenes, that there's just too much boring time there. If you just did a hyper cut of all the fight scenes, that's okay. Um, I
Th-
don't know. It's just
this
King
one I
Kong.
didn't actually think was too bad. If you don't like this one, then you really are not gonna like the next one.
Oh yeah, there's no way I can like but at the same time, I don't have a choice because I have a small child
You have
that
to. Yeah.
liked Godzilla, and the ability to see two things fight, um, which is like, uh, I mean, Godzilla hands down the winner of each confrontation. And it's not until you give King Kong a weapon that he stands even a remote fighting chance.
It
Um,
is a little
so
bit.
I think
It is a little bit.
by the
Yeah.
next one, I know the next, of course, the most recent one, they give him a boxing glove essentially. So that they should do is they should use his full Planet of the Apes and then let him just carry a gun. You know, just let King Kong carry a big enough gun. Um, one of the things that it doesn't make sense is I know that they're this is just a avenue for whomever, the whatever writer, to do his conspiracy theory about, because they talk about tap water, the fluoride. They talk about uh
Yeah.
they talk
That.
about a couple other small minor conspiracy theories, and then they're like, oh yeah, and here's the big one, Hollow Earth. And I'm like, oh, this is so dumb, this hurts the brain.
Yeah. I mean, this one I actually remember kind of liking this one quite a bit. It was dumb and fun, but it was fun enough to me. Yeah, I really want to talk about the next one because the next one is the one I remember more. And the next one, well, okay. So let's stick with this one. This one, um, I thought that it was. I thought that it had a halfway decent, stringing together of action scenes with the plot that they tried to put, where it's like, okay, we got to go get Kong, and we got to bring him off the island, and he gets his ass kicked. I mean, he gets his ass kicked, pretty much the whole way through. It's only at the end, spoilers, when when Kong and Godzilla have to team up against Mecha Godzilla, and that was pretty cool. I was like, okay, so like Kong is, I don't know, like you're just racist against Kong though too. So like you've never given Kong like a good like a fair shake. To be fair,
I've watched more Kong movies than you have, mind you.
yeah, but you've always hated them. Like you've always hated him. Um, and
He's a boring character. I mean, just flat out simple. I mean, at least Skull Island, with what's his face from Walk Hard, um,
oh
Step
yeah,
Brothers.
C. Riley, John C. Riley.
Yeah, John C. Reilly. Yeah,
Okay,
so that one had a couple really key moments. And as far compared to the Peter Jackson boring garbage, it is way better. Skull Island is the appropriate like remake of King Kong that is the best modern King Kong movie there is, without a doubt. Um,
really?
you prefer Peter Jackson's piece of garbage? Um,
I thought that Peter Jackson's. I mean, I was in high school whenever that came out, and I thought that it was pretty good at the time. I mean, maybe not
dude,
like the best thing ever, but Skull
they had
Island.
to draw out so many fight scenes with slow motion. At Skull Island, it had really unique, interesting like character monster designs, like straight up weird ass monsters. Um, they had, they had the was it the one that they mentioned in this one, the Death Stalker or something like that, the one with
Mm,
just arms
yeah.
that like no like there was that. They had, instead of just having a boring like T-Rex as Peter Jackson, like yeah, he has a dinosaur, but like they
Mm,
did the creepy like spider monster kind of creatures like that. uh and you had simple antagonists essentially. It's like, yeah, coming off of the Vietnam War, you have Samuel L. Jackson, who just lost a bunch of people thanks to Kong, and he becomes Captain Ahab, just
mm,
like maddeningly hunting his white whale. He's like, "You killed my men, and now Kong has to die."
mm.
It's like
It's a classic
uh,
story. Yeah.
some of John C. Riley's stuff is just, it's a little cheesy, but it's not bad. It's actually like he actually gave the scenes some proper like
I mean, I guess
concept.
the worst thing I can say about Skull Island is I just don't remember anything that happened in it. I mean, I just don't. Nothing resonated with me. I remember it just there's completely just like a blank in my mind. So
I
uh,
would rather watch the OG black and white claymation King Kong than Peter Jackson's one. And
that is fine.
it's just
That's fine.
the King Peter Jackson, like just even the ending of it where he's doing the Empire scene, and it's like, and the airplane's coming out. Okay, here's where he eats it. Slow motion, and then okay, here's another one. Okay, here's where he eats it. Slow motion, and then here's another slow
I
motion. I'm
mean,
like,
that
dude,
movie was like three
just
hours
kill
long.
him already.
It
It's,
was really
well,
long.
yeah. Then he's
Yeah,
like, check it out, man. I made an extended cut because that's what I do because I'm Peter Jackson, and
it's
it's the
18
cool thing to
hours.
make an extended cut of. It's just, anyways. So if it was a truncated version, if you trimmed it down to an hour, 90 minutes,
Hmm.
Do a Peter Jackson 90-minute cut, I bet that would be gold. But it was painfully
Yeah,
long.
I mean,
Um,
that was in the age of like super or ultra long movies and stuff like that. And
well, that was his
they,
first thing after Lord of the Rings. His first thing
yeah.
after Lord of the Rings.
So
He's noted for being that guy to make long
I
ones.
mean, he had a blank check, essentially to do whatever he wanted at that point, which is typically the worst thing you can do for an artist, because it just makes everything um, too much. Yeah, I mean,
But yeah,
like these movies. It, this one was okay. I of the three that I have seen in this section. Well, I mean, so there's Skull Island. That's still in this universe. So there's Skull Island. There's the Godzilla only one. There's
2016.
yeah, that's 2016, and then there's Godzilla versus Kong. That's
Uh, uh, there's the one after the Godzilla 2016 Godzilla is Godzilla King of Monsters.
okay. Godzilla King of Monsters. Oh no, I don't. So so the 2016 Godzilla, is that
That's Bryan Cranston.
okay? I don't. Is that in this universe? Is that
Yes.
okay?
It's
So
it goes that one, and then it goes from there because Ken Watanabe's character is in both that and King of Monsters,
okay,
and that's where they bring in. So they changed all, like, almost all the leads, and they have, because, like I said, that's
right,
Millie Bobby Brown. Her whole character arcs like really irritated me for the King of Monsters. Like, we're gonna be eco terrorists and all this other garbage. But the monsters themselves, I was happy for. It's just all the other human subplot garbage
yeah.
in King of
So
all
so
Monsters was
basically they
terrible.
flipped. I mean, they flipped the script after the 2016 Bryan Cranston Godzilla one. They go over to this. I mean, that one was way too highbrow for most people, and I didn't really think
Uh,
so. I
I
thought
know
they just
I
overplayed
have the
it.
unpopular opinion. Really like the 2016, but that's because they do focus too much on the people, not enough on Godzilla, but they make it so that they are actually like a force of nature, and just
Yeah.
pure terror. And it's just like you see the scale, the scope of damage. The Vegas scene where you see the other, I can't remember the name of the generic kaiju in that one, but you see him just terrorizing the back of Vegas,
Hmm.
from the hotel room, that's just half broken hotel room, or when they do the Halo dive into San Francisco,
Yeah.
and they played that Space Odyssey 2000, 2001 sound, when then
Yeah.
as they're jumping.
I forget what that's
That's a
called, but
great
yeah.
scene. Yeah,
Yeah.
they
That.
do a motif of that one in this one. Actually, they kind of tweak it. They just kind of hint at it in Godzilla versus King Kong. Like, we noticed that right away. They're just a little choir, like, hemming from that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's they switched over to kind of this simpler idea, and then they went into the Godzilla, uh the one after the other Godzilla one that's
King
in
of
this.
Monsters, and then they went to
That's right.
Godzilla
King
versus
of
King Kong.
Monsters, and then this, and of all of those, except for maybe the 2016 one, um, I like this one the most. And then the one after this one, I think is definitely a step back. But yeah, they 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 haven't found the sweet spot to me, in any of these movies of people and monster, because this movie, not as bad as the next one, but it's just doesn't really give you enough of the people. The people are just there for scale, pretty much, and the next one's really really bad about that. So I don't know where it is, but like that, and they're choosing with these movies, these more recent ones, they are choosing to make King Kong the protagonist. He is the dude. It is about him. So Godzilla is having to take a back seat, and I think that probably switching off a little bit would be better, because right now they're just like making Godzilla into a big dumb lizard, and King Kong is like the one that's like doing the thinking and stuff like that. And I don't know. I don't know what the long term idea is, but there needs to be a little bit more of an equal playing field or something like that that's established. But yeah, this like these
Yeah.
movies, these movies are probably better if you're drunk or inebriated in some way. Like, you really shouldn't watch these movies with a clear mind, because you won't enjoy them as much.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean, it's funny though, because considering the fact that I might be getting this wrong, but I thought that Godzilla, um, the original King Kong versus Godzilla movie, uh, was like the second installment of both franchises. We're talking about like in like the '60s. Um, they had that crossover way back then, and I'm pretty sure it's like the second movie for both of them. So there was the original King Kong, the original Godzilla, and I thought that after that was King Kong versus Godzilla.
Well,
Uh,
they've had to mess with the lore too, because like Godzilla is like what 200 feet tall, 300 feet. He's huge, right? And King Kong is only like 50 or 30 feet tall. He's like normal size no, normal sized giant. I know how stupid that sounds, but like Godzilla is like
Yeah, Godzilla straight up is taller than the Empire State,
yeah
while King Kong originally would climb the Empire State Building.
yeah.
It's like, and that's the weird part because I was like, I know that, especially if they have to fight, they made him bigger from Skull Island. I'm pretty sure, um, or like it's like at least I thought, and it's like, but I know the next one. I'm like, well, I'm curious about that because it's like you can't really have a good one-to-one fight when you're fighting like half your size. But this one, they're not. Yeah. Anyways, I'll watch the next one because it is on my list. Um,
You're not gonna like it.
it's
I can tell you
inevitable.
that much. You are
Oh
not gonna
no,
like it.
I know. And it's once again, I don't watch it for myself. I watch it for my family,
Do
and
it for the children.
you know, though, yeah, for sure. Okay. Until then, I'm still gonna like make sure my kid gets a full installment of like all the old Godzilla franchise films. Um, I just have to what stay even the bad ones, like or when Godzilla's a bad guy. It's just hilarious to see my. I might have mentioned this before, but my kids were watching Godzilla versus Mothra, and at one point, Godzilla's they have Mothra's egg,
Hmm.
and they're trying to protect the humans are trying to protect it, and Godzilla's like, no, no, this is mine. I'm gonna crush it now. And then my kids are yelling, Godzilla, no, no. And I'm like, sometimes he's the bad guy. Just sometimes he's the bad guy. He doesn't, spoiler, it's okay.
Your
But
kids are
it's just
having to
funny.
try to
I have to let my kids know.
process this that their
Yeah.
hero is actually a villain. Yeah, that's
I mean, it's okay. I mean, he'll learn the villains are fun too. Though I will keep him away from Shin Godzilla for at least a handful of years
they're not
because that
ready
one
for
is the
that
most disturbing.
until after they have to go to the DMV. You need to that is probably the best like anti bureaucracy movie that has ever been made. But whatever.
Yes. All right. Um, Now, real quick, not real quick, I should say. You've
We
selected a handful of news for us today, so
a
let's go.
big huge handful of news. We are getting kind of long in the tooth, so just kind of mention a bunch of this stuff and just I'll just mention it and let me know if you want to talk about it more.
Sounds good.
So there was a next gen Blade Runner game from the studio behind Until Dawn that got scrapped. It was going to be like a 15-hour type of game, and if you know about Until Dawn game, as a game, then you could probably imagine sort of the direction they were going to go. It was going to be like 15 hours ish for like the main story, and then the budget it had was like 49 million, with like 9 million of that being for talent. So they were going to spend some good money on talent and stuff like that, actors and stuff. So that was kind of interesting. I was like, that would have been an interesting little thing to have seen come to fruition, but it did not. And then the Discord founder steps down as the CEO, and they're bringing in this other guy, who's former Activision Blizzard vice chairman. I forget his name exactly. It's not a particularly common name, but what was interesting about this, or what concerns me about this, is that this guy that they're bringing in, he seems like somebody who is good at microtransactions, and that is what.
Activision Blizzard, you say?
Yeah, yeah. No, like he was on the chair for Activision Blizzard, but he did a bunch of stuff with a company called King.com or something like that, and they do like
They're the ones who did Candy Crush.
exactly, yeah, Candy Crush and stuff like that. So he has experience in making a lot of money off of tiny transactions, which has me concerned because I'm like, oh, are we going to get just a bunch of that in Discord? But Discord's also had trouble with making money at all, so I kind of get it. They are trying to do something like that, but we'll see how that goes. I just wanted to tag in there.
Yeah, the only thing I heard that when this happened was a lot of people were like, well, it probably won't change much in the end because too many people don't want to move to something new. They're just too lazy. And then there's also like the only other one I heard is like a lot of people mentioning like Revolt, I think it is, as an alternate open source alternative to Discord. Um, I
Okay.
have no idea about it, so I was just like, but then again, I personally came to Discord really late in the game, uh,
Well, I
just because
mean,
I didn't have a use for it
Discord's
myself.
kind of
So
a behemoth now. They have the user base. And I don't mind them monetizing it. I just don't want to be annoyed by it. And I just feel like if they gave me, if they, I don't even know what Nitro is, but I just feel like I don't need anything that they have behind their paywall. Um, and if they came out and were like, "Hey, we're gonna make it so that all the stuff that you like using is $5 a month or $3 a month," I mean, that really is the zone that they would need to play in. You know, but it's $5 a month, and you can keep doing all the same stuff, and we're going to give you a bunch of other dumb stuff that you don't care about, but at least you'll have it if you want to engage with it. I'd be like, okay, I can probably deal with that. But I know that whatever they're going to do is either going to be really annoying or it's going to be like $10 a month. And I'm just like, I don't want to do that I don't think Discord is not worth that to me, especially if there are any kind of alternatives out there. And if they do that, I think that people are going to go, nope. And then they're basically going to give whatever competition the user base, and they're going to either that or they're going to create the competition by sending the user base away, and then and we'll just I'm just it's going to be annoying in the long run. I just hope that the guy is a genius and he makes me not annoyed. That's all I'm hoping for.
yeah, I mean, most people, I guess, the big thing about Discord is having the groups that you can really chat amongst, and finding an alternative to that. Because for my person to person internet chat, like anything could do. Like you can go back to Skype for all I care. But it's those group interactions that is what Discord is best known for. And yeah, we'll see. I mean, hold your breath. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
I never stop holding my breath. So then there's a bunch of other little things here. The Netflix CEO said that Netflix is saving Hollywood because going to the theater is an outmoded idea for most people. Um, I think that he's right. Unfortunately, I wish he wasn't right, but I think that he is at least right that going to the theater is an outmoded um, thing for a lot of people. I think that theaters have sort of it's too little, too late. That I don't want to say they tried valiantly because I don't really think that they have, but there's a lot of there's just a lot of things that have just pushed it that way. I don't know about the term saving Hollywood because I do feel like, and as I've said many times on this podcast, I think that Netflix makes a lot of meh movies, like literally just meh content that I will forget uh, in a very short amount of time.
They're
So
they're the cookie cutter of the film industry. They have a template, and then they just like use that same template for all your shows, all your content, and it's very like bare bones. It's
so
very very few over the top things.
so to say you're saving Hollywood, I kind of balk at that because I'm like, no, I think you're actually kind of killing Hollywood. You're just you're just like you're just transferring its soul out of its body and like Frankensteining it. There's other there's other things that would there's other places that I think are saving Hollywood. I think Max and Apple TV, and to some degree, the other ones are doing a better job at saving Hollywood. But that's just my take on it. A couple other interesting things here. There's an Ace Attorney dev that suggested that Ace Attorney might never have become a series if it came out these days because the first game was a failure, according to him. I kind of read through this article. I couldn't really get at to how Ace Attorney was really a failure. But anyway, this is something that that this dev said, and I don't know. I was kind of wondering if you knew anything about the first Ace Attorney. Knew anything about the history of that one.
I was in basic training when the first Ace Attorney came out,
You
and
but you played it,
so
right? I mean, at some point.
I played it. I ended up picking it up, and a bunch of like guys in my bay would yell out "objection" just to see if it triggered the audio thing. I'm like, you have to hit the button before you say it. So, but yeah, that was. Uh, I could see it being hard to understand because there wasn't a lot of kind of visual novel, slash adventure-ish games at the time.
Mhm.
It did. There was a handful of like there became a handful on the original DS. Um, Trace Memories, Hotel Dusk, stuff like that. Like some really good detective stuff. But it was early on in the career, I can see it being very difficult to get a footing.
Mm.
And it was one of those games that, as the series gone on, and as the quirks and like it really built on the wackiness of its characters. Uh, but also probably just didn't sell the quote unquote gangbusters it needed right out the gate. In hindsight, it probably sold better than like it's one of those games that probably had a better tail end than the start.
Right, right, and had a cult fan following.
It's the new IP problem, right? Like we all complain about wanting new IP. When the new IP comes out, we're like, yeah, it's okay, but man, I really hope the next game is better. And I'm like, but then you're just literally fueling the thing that you complain about, like, oh man, all these sequels, I can't believe there's another sequel. But you just said, and I've been guilty of that too. Like my biggest one is the Ascent. Like the Ascent, I like the Ascent quite a bit. The gameplay is really fun,
Oh
but
yeah.
I just wanted to be there more of it and just bet more in like, and I'm like right out the gate, I was like, "Yeah, this is a good first attempt. Man, the second one would be better." And I'm like, "Dang it, I
Well,
am literally the problem.
what we're all trying to say is we just want a good
Do better."
game. Just do better. Yeah, just do better. I don't care. I don't care if it's a sequel. I don't care if it's a prequel. I don't care if it's a brand new IP. Just make a good game. Just make a good game. That's all I want. I don't care where it comes from. But yeah, we just try to find the source, and we do recognize where they overdo it and underdo it. But yeah, so I'm gonna skip a lot of this Nintendo stuff because it's good topics of conversation, but we really don't have time to jump into every bit of it, and it is just more Nintendo nonsense. So some of the quicker release or the quicker announcements: FBC Firebreak by Remedy um, has a release date of June 17th, 2025. So coming up here in just a couple months. I know that we'll be excited to at least peek into that because we're Remedy fools. So we'll be looking at that. Good news for Claire Obscure Expedition 33. And cleared 500,000 copies sold, which is very good. I think that's a very good sign for it. I mean, it's always nice for it to do even better than that. But I mean, this is a game that is Xbox. What is it called? Xbox subscription. Xbox Game Pass day one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's already out there, and so a lot of the memes are going, "Do I play this or do I play that new Oblivion remake?"
Mm,
Uh, but
well,
despite having that to compete with, um, it's like this is getting a lot of good love. The ratings, a lot of favorable reviews across the board. It seems to be very competent, especially for these smaller, quote unquote, smaller team.
yeah.
They have a lot of love behind it, and it just everything about it looks really solid. So
Yeah, I mean, so I just want to bring this up because I want to say, this actually makes me want to play it more, but it also um, makes me think that a lot of people saw the same stuff that we did, and we're like, okay, yeah, this actually does have some meat on the bone here. There's something a little bit good, maybe a little bit different than what you're used to. So that,
hardest hurdle for most people would be turn-based fighting. I think that's
oh
going to be
yeah,
the hardest thing for a lot who are used to current, RPG mechanics. So,
yeah,
but like if for someone like me who likes the old, like Mario RPG, that kind of like timed combat, where you can add extra defense if you time it right or add extra damage. Apparently, the windows are pretty tight, but you can adjust the difficulty, I guess. But it's just like this is straight up my alley. It's not crazy long for one of these, which is great. They
Hmm.
kind of, but it's still a long enough game. So yeah, totally. I want to give this a shot. I just don't know if I'm going to be able to within reason. So it's one of those that
You have Game
I'll
Pass,
pick it up
right?
when the library gets it. No, I don't have Game Pass anymore. That lapsed.
Okay,
But it's a reason to pick it up for like PC or something like that. Just pick it up again for a couple of these new games that are out. But yeah, I've
sure.
let my Game Pass lapse a while ago.
Okay, I thought so, but and the way you were talking, I got confused. So yeah, that's well, sorry, bug got me. Uh, we'll keep track of that. Ghost of Yote has a release date now, October 2nd of this year, 2025. The question here is, that the GTA 6 date is still looming. Everybody wants to get out of the way of that. Ghost of Yote is going to be a huge game, in its own right. But it's not going to be. It's basically going to be the old school King Kong to GTA's Godzilla. Um, so people are kind of worried about that. I don't think that anybody has anything to worry about. I think I think the people who want to play Ghosts of Yote are going to go out and buy it, and they're just going to buy both if they have interest in both, because both those games are freaking, uh, they're going to be. They're. I mean, to set the expect not to set the expectations too high. Both those games are going to be really, really great.
It's going to be two different. It's for two different types of players. Essentially, it's. I think someone who likes Ghost of Yote, they'll still play if they like GTA, they'll still get GTA. It's not like they're going to choose one or the other. Um, those who like if you're into what Ghost of Yote has, then yeah, for sure. I don't really think it's going to affect it too much. So some of the information that came out about this is it's going to be more or less in the Hokkaido region, or what now like, but whatever I forgot what they called it back then, but it's more or less modern, where modern Hokkaido is.
Mm-hmm.
That's the landscape. Um, it's going to be a revenge story. So essentially, it's the joke that came to my mind was it's just Kill Bill. It's like it's that it's a revenge tale. You have it's all about hunting certain masked individuals, so everyone has a different code name essentially. Um, so it reminds me very much of that. And she's checking off a list. She has like a name. It looked like she had a name
Mm-hmm.
on a cloth, and then she was wiping the blood of her blade off on it. So like
That's
crossing the
cool.
name out. Yeah,
Well, as long as they give me some more duels, because the duels are pretty freaking sweet. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. Only one more thing that I feel like.
oh, one last thing for that. They also showed a mechanic where it's like a time skip, or it's kind of uh I forget there's the not the median, I think it was called, where they had like you can jump between worlds. So they show a bit where she's walking, and it kind of reverts to her younger self walking in that same area. And they kind of had moments like that in the original game of Ghost of Tsushima, where he's remembering his past training. But this is supposed to be an actual game mechanic that
Oh,
they mentioned on Play. At least that's the article on PlayStation Blog. So hopefully that's accurate, and we'll see how well that's done. Like I don't know if it's the entire spot, maybe it's only key areas where you can kind of interact between the old and the new or something like that.
right.
That would make sense.
It's
Like
like the
whatever
messenger, but
key.
from Sucker Punch.
So I mean, like I said, I'm very excited about this, even if it's more more Ghost of Tsushima. Like I think they'll do a good job. For the most part, they've done pretty solid all around. But I'm sorry, continue.
So there's only one more that I want to mention, and then the rest of this is just sort of whatever. But one of my favorite shows, Love, Death, and Robots, is getting a season 4. So I have to eat my words a little bit because Netflix is putting this out, and this is very, very much not um, not cookie cutter, random forgettable stuff. But yeah, so they're getting a season 4. So good on Netflix for continuing to do that. I gotta give props where it's due. So I'm really looking forward to that coming out May 15th, and nothing else important is happening on that day. So yeah, that is.
I'm glad you're going to be. I'm glad you're going to be gone. Uh, I hope you get eaten by a bear in Oregon or whatever you're going to be. camping. Uh, A sends that weekend. You're supposed to be here. We talked about it, you jerk face. Okay. Um, also, I noticed that you have on here just the Capcom's beloved RPG, Breath of Fire 4, Back from the Dead on PC, 25th anniversary. Yes, this was actually GOG helped bring this back, and so a
Bring it
lot
back
of
to life.
people liked Breath of Fire 4. That was probably the last Breath of Fire I played. The it was solid. It was all right. I still think as far as PlayStation goes, Breath of Fire 3 was probably the better game. Um, but I also have this. I still have a soft spot for Breath of Fire 1 and 2. Probably 2 more than any of them because that was the one that was my first one. So, Breath of Fire is fun old school JRPG series. Uh, the only thing that stays the same is character names and like lineage essentially. So you always have a main character, blue hair, named Ryu, part of a dragon clan. You always have a some sort of bird companion, like a like female character with wings, Nina, I believe it is. It's always, and then you always, and then you have generally a plethora of other people, like tiger people or dog people, and so the traversal is different per game. But Breath of Fire 4 was still a solid entry, so that's kind of neat. I just saw that in your list of news, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to bring that up because I just looked into that earlier today.
Okay.
All
Okay.
right, well, all right, a little long in the tooth, like you mentioned, but hey, there was a lot of fun stuff to talk about. If you made it this far, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot, guys. And this has been ADP, episode 124. Nick, what are some words of wisdom you have for the people out there?
Um, if you are going to put an egg in your body, make sure that you make sure that it's properly lubricated.
All right. Yep. Practice those muscles. Quote Nick, hashtag prison life. Okay. Yeah, until then, guys, this is ADP. Take it easy, guys.
Bye.